It's interesting that climate change did make a big appearance here at the APEC meeting in Singapore, an unscheduled meeting involving 19 of the 21 leaders as a breakfast meeting. It included a surprise visitor, and that was the Prime Minister of Denmark, Prime Minister Rasmussen, who of course is chairing the Copenhagen meeting in less than 3 weeks from now. And he came to lay out a plan to get some sort of agreement from the APEC leaders. He's calling it a one agreement, two steps plan. What he's looking for is to try to get a politically binding agreement at Copenhagen next in December, and then the next step with that would be an internationally legally binding commitment. So he came here to drum up support for that. As I said, 19 members of APEC were present at that meeting, and according to a White House spokesman, there was a general consensus of support for getting some sort of politically binding agreement there, at least getting the Copenhagen process moving on. It's very important, APEC leaders believe, to have a measure of success in Copenhagen, because the expectations have been levered down and down and down on what we can expect from Copenhagen. So at least now pushing for some political agreement, followed by an international agreement later. And that political agreement would take over various parts of the climate change problem, like what to do with technology transfer, what to do with financing developing countries, etc., etc. So some movement on that, Natalie.
Yes, it seems for the past year everyone's been talking about Copenhagen and wondering if there would be any real solutions. So we will wait and see as a result of this meeting. Well, what happens next with this meeting and with Mr. Obama's trip, Andrew?
Well, Mr. Obama is just winding up his closed session with the APEC leaders, where he's been pitching, again, his vision of the new sustainable, balanced global economy. It was pretty much borrowing from many of the terms he spoke about in his speech, his major speech in Japan yesterday. It really is talking about trying to rebalance and it's interesting because he's coming to Asia really to sell the story of how Asia can be an export market for the US rather than vice versa, as it's been so far. The president wanting to see many more exports flowing this way. They're also going to be talking about free trade and getting some sort of outline of an agreement on pushing forward on the Doha round. This is the global trade talks, plus a specific bilateral trade agreement with South Korea. So it pretty much was about trade. After that, Mr. Obama will be having bilateral meetings with Dmitry Medvedev, the Russian president. He'll also be the first US president to be hosting an ASEAN meeting. He's going to be spending 90 minutes or so with ASEAN leaders.